Hello and welcome back to Princess Evangile. While I was free, I wonder how aware of that I was. And looking back at it now, it's too sad to think about. I betrayed my one and only best friend. And those hellish days began. The days of betrayal, of a love that ate away at me. And as a Christian, I'd always imagined a blessed wedding day, but now that was beyond me. And day by day, my friend grew weaker. She'd lost so much weight, her eyes had grown larger, and every night they stared into me, as if seeing into all of my sin and betrayal. And then in May, when the fresh buds announced new life, and she neared the end of hers, and when I learned that her illness had entered the critical stage, I rushed to the hospital. And just then a violent nausea overtook me, and I had to rush to the bathroom. And I stared down at the white wash basin and retched. And I'd noticed that I'd missed my monthly cycle, but I ignored it as a mere menstrual irregularity. And I turned on the faucet and splashed cold water against my face, denying it in my mind again and again. And Tomi-san was called to heaven, while my stomach had swollen too large to be ignored. And vaguely I remember what people had said about us as girls. Twins in a former life. And I began to believe that the child growing inside me might be Tomi-san's reincarnation. And I felt the nausea welling up inside of me again. I no longer had it in me to dismiss such words as a joke. And that's when the memories became hazy. I believe I took a year's leave of absence from work, but I'm not certain. And I don't have any memories of a ceremony. We decided that a wedding was out of the question. I have very few memories of the birth too. And the next thing I knew, there was a baby there in the house. They said the girl was my daughter, and I couldn't believe it. I thought they were lying to me. I couldn't accept the cries of that new baby as accusations of my own betrayal. The child... No, it couldn't be my child. It must have been the child Tomi-san left behind. It meant I stole her, of course, but that sin would be a lesser one. And my mind was clouded by a heavy fog, but began to clear by the time of my second pregnancy. And after Ritsuko was born, things became so much clearer. Clearly, Ayaka-san was Tomi's child. It was all perfectly clear in my mind. I was strict in my dealings with Ayaka-san. My husband always smiled at it with discomfort, but he never tried to rebuke me. She's your best friend's child. Why can't you love her? And when I tried to probe deeper, a milky whiteness flooded into my brain and I had to stop. Ayaka-san was so young. She realized there was something she would never have, no matter how much she wanted it. And the only way she could protect herself was to put on a mask. God, why won't God punish me? Why did I have to run from my friend until the very end? I felt like I was going insane. And more I began to resent Ayaka-san. Now I know. Ayaka-san is not my best friend's child. She's mine. How long am I going to make her suffer like this? My daughter chose to throw aside her mask and tell me how she felt, so why can't I? Because you are a horrible person. I have stated this in the past. I maintain the Headmistress is a hypocrite and a horrible person, and I'll be honest, I find hypocrisy one of the things that winds me up the most. It's the classic, anti-gay preacher, found sleeping with rent boys. It's not the sleeping with rent boys that pisses me off, it's the fact that he's being a hypocrite by preaching an anti-gay sentiment while sleeping around with a bunch of men. Anywho. Tears streamed from her eyes as the Headmistress finally awoke. And she lifted her head and just looked around the room in confusion. And the moment her gaze fell on Ayaka-san, her expression froze. Tomi-san! What? Some sort of light appeared in the Headmistress's eyes. Fear? But it disappeared again immediately. What on earth happened? She sat up to realise that she was lying on her own couch. She said it was anemia. Anemia? Anemia, that's the word. Anemia. I see. Are you all right? Yes, I think that I'm fine. The headmistress folded up the blanket and sat down properly on the sofa. When Ayaka-san spoke, her expression pointed. Mother, about what we were talking about. What were you talking about? Ayaka-san sighed, and the response didn't sound fake to me either. What is this? She touched the corners of her eyes, stared at her fingertips. And she stared in disbelief for a moment as she realized that they were tears. Mother, you were crying. I think I'll be going for today, Mother. For today? Let's go. And at her urging, Ritsuko-chan and I stood up. Wait a minute, Ayaka-san. What is it? No, it's nothing. Excuse me. Wow, she is in an epic state of denial. I'm not kidding. At this point, go seek professional help. You should have done it 20 years... Well, how old is Ayaka-san? I say, given that nominally all the women in this game are meant to be at least 18, let's assume since Ayaka-san's meant to be a year older that she's 19. So you should have got a professional help 19 years ago when she started having these delusions. Aye. That night, Ayaka-san and Ritsuko-chan came to my room. I was a little shocked. I didn't think she'd just pass out like that. Yes, that sort of thing happens to Mother from time to time. I wasn't expecting her to wake up immediately. Yeah, but if she won't listen to you, how can we get our point through to her? Ayaka-san's real mother had ignored her feelings for almost 20 years. We had to put a stop to it as soon as possible. I wonder what Mother wants in the end. Why she's ignoring you, that is. Maybe she's simply afraid of facing what's happened in the past. Something inside me believes that Mother isn't that kind of person. Ritsuko-chan seemed to answer her own question. What do you mean? She has a strong sense of justice, an obsession to put it another way. The idea that she would just keep running from something like that, it doesn't match what we know about her. But Mother's clearly suffering so much, she doesn't have any choice but to run away. I know that's true, but what she wants? Forgiveness from Tomi-san? On the contrary, I think it's punishment. Punishment? If I think about Mother's personality, what Mother did can't really be forgiven. Mother must believe that more than anyone. So in her dreams, she wouldn't expect forgiveness. But she might at least want punishment. At least punishment? Couldn't quite grasp what she was talking about, but Ayaka-san nodded. I get it. Tomi-san died without ever confronting Mother about her sin. It's probably the thing that was hardest for her. If she receives punishment, she can begin to atone. The main person who can punish her isn't here anymore. She feels like she can't move forward or turn back, so instead she's caused to compromise in reality. I'm assuming these guys have to be Catholic, right? Given the, given that they have nuns. Or are they some particular sub-denomination? Because let's face it, there are a lot of sub-denominations of Christianity. So I'm going to say, surely if she's Catholic, then at the very least she should be talking to a priest about this. Because that's kind of the point of confession. Or that's confession as I understand it. Not Catholic, not Christian, never done confession. But that's the implication I've always taken from the way it's presented in the media. Though admittedly that could be like saying, well, I know computer hacking's all about typing stuff really quickly while shouting at things, because that's how hacking's always presented in the media. I couldn't tell if I understood that or not, but at least the headmistress didn't have such a loose ethical code that she would ignore the sin that lay at her heart. The sin was there, but no one knew about it. And that's why she could turn her eyes from reality. I wonder if God knows. What? The headmistress is a Christian, but God never punished her for her crime. That's true. She was probably expecting some kind of divine punishment. Let's be honest, regardless of your feelings on a divine being, if God was active enough, God, whatever, was active enough to punish people who deserved punishing for breaking his rules, A, about 40 to 50% of the current human race would have been struck by lightning a long time ago, and B, we'd never get things like mass serial killers, because they'd be struck down instantly they killed the first person. If you're going around waiting for your divine being to do the punishing, you're gonna be waiting quite a long time. Anyway, I think I'll go ask Dad tomorrow for more details on how Mother and Tomi-san got along. Want to come with me, Ritsuko? I would prefer not. Really? Looking father in the eye right now would just make me angry. I see. The next day was Sunday, and so we stopped by the Papator Moon Rock before it opened. Did Tomi know about it? To be honest, I'm not sure of that myself. She never said anything concrete about it, right up to the end. I see. But I can't believe she didn't notice. She dropped hints. I can tell that Mitsuko-san is being a great help to you, things like that. You could assume she just meant comforting me, but I don't know. I don't think that's all it meant. If she knew then why did she go to her grave without telling anyone? I don't know. Maybe she knew she was dying, decided it wasn't worth stirring up trouble. In the end, Tomi became so passive. After all, she couldn't get out of bed. All she could do was wait for me to visit her. It really was cruel. It sounds like she probably didn't forgive you in her heart. Probably not. I seem to remember her saying things about Misako, like I thought she was my best friend. Hey Dad, Ritsuko said something last night. She said, Mother might be looking for punishment rather than forgiveness. What do you think of that? Punishment, eh? Maybe so. Your mother does have a stronger sense of justice than most. Incidentally, I would like some credit for the fact that I've managed to avoid any references to BDSM thus far. I think I am doing quite well. Well, up until that one anyway, but, I held off on that for like 6 minutes, so, I'm proud of myself for that. And Tomi passed away without making things clear. Misako is the kind of person who would seek out punishment, rather than forgiveness. Dad, did you bring what I asked you for? Yeah. His face lit up in recollection, and he excused himself and left the table. What did you ask him for? Pictures of Tomi-san. He came back immediately, with a few photographs in hand. Here, thanks. I peeked over her shoulder, and they were all pictures of a young couple. Some of them looked to have been taken at a wedding as well. The people smiled radiantly. We really don't much look alike, do we? You and her? That's true. After all, she is completely unrelated to you. It's true, but yesterday when Mother looked at me, she called me Tomi-san. I thought we might look alike. Now that you mention it, when Misako was pregnant with you, she did say some strange things. Something about the child inside her being Tomi's reincarnation. Timing was about right, so... Reincarnation. So it wouldn't have anything to do with outward appearance. Well, it depends entirely what you think of reincarnation. Let's face it, my image of people who believe in reincarnation is Arnold J. Rimmer, proudly announcing that in a past life, he was Alexander the Great's chief eunuch. Incidentally, if you've never watched Red Dwarf, go watch Red Dwarf, it's really damn funny. Right down to the line about even now being around nutcrackers makes him uncomfortable. Ayaka-san was still looking at the photos, even on the bus. They don't look the least bit alike. If I'd seen these earlier, I probably would have realised something was off. Is this the first time you've seen them? It's like visiting at a grave. I wasn't really interested in knowing more. She turned her eyes back to the Pispers? That was a weird Freudian slip. She turned her eyes back to the pictures and whispered softly. I wonder if Tomi-san had any connection to the student council. Why do you ask? Well, there's something I've been wondering about. Mother's still dreaming, which means that this might just work. Miseko, would you mind coming with me tomorrow to investigate something? Sure, but what is it? I want to know who else was in Venice's student council when Mother was young. Venice should have proper records of those things. What's the point of investigating that? I'll explain tomorrow. My guess? She wants to basically force her to walk into a room full of her quote-unquote old friends and then effectively browbeat her around the head with the truth. I'm still maintaining that professional help would be your best course of action. Seriously, you've clearly got a reasonable amount of money. Hire a bloody psychiatrist. We found what we were looking for in the dusty record room, and we checked them out of the classroom, which is empty after school. They really do keep detailed records, don't they? Well, the school does pride itself in its history. They had the members listed for the White Lily Society, Red Rose Society, and the Student Council for every year. They even had the Student Council presidents listed. All of them were the leaders of one society or the other. We knew the headmistress's age, so it was a pretty easy matter to find the right document. Oh, here it is. Oh, this is interesting. In my mother's year, there were 3 candidates for the Student Council president. 3. Somebody wasn't a society leader? Yeah, here, take a look. I looked at the place that she was pointing. There were Kitamakado Maseko, Onotode Tomi, and one person I didn't recognise. Wow! Tomi-san and the headmistress competed? Here's something else that's interesting. Mother and Tomi-san were both in the White Lily Society. Huh? Mother was the society leader. In other words, even though it should have been between Mother and the Red Rose Society leader, Tomi-san had opposed herself. Can you do that? Well, any student could put themselves in the running. It's just tradition that nobody but the society heads runs. As I say, it's the American presidential election. Admittedly, all the coverage coming out of America at the moment is an absolute hoot, up until you realise that some people actually agree with some of it. Namely, Donald Trump is in with a serious chance of being the Republican candidate. Oh good God. Let's face it, we were worried that Sarah Palin was going to go nuts and push the nuclear button. I can completely see Trump going nuts and pushing the button and nuking Mexico after about 20 minutes. But anywho, I should probably stay off the politics. But, you know, not to be political, but can we just agree his hair is really stupid? That's the closest I'm going to get. I'm not going to discuss his political views, I'm just going to say he's a lunatic and his hair looks stupid. But there's clearly some friction here. 2 White Lily Society members going into the election? Yeah, they might have been best friends, but I suppose they were rivals too. Neither of them wanted to lose. So who won? Let me see. Oh, it was Tomi-san. She won even though she wasn't society leader? It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it really is amazing. I wonder if that was the first time. Venice really does hate change after all. So Tomi must have been pretty popular, right? But despite that, she wasn't elected society leader. Ayaka-san tilted her head. Miseko, do you know how association leaders are picked? Don't they just choose their own? Bryce-san said she was elected by a vote but taken by the society members, I remember. Though of course at the time, it was because all the members had defaulted. Yeah, girls judge each other very harshly, you know. The student council president and the society leaders too are people whom everyone respects. When Mother was made society leader, she was probably the more popular of the 2 of them. But things obviously changed after a year had passed. I wonder why. You think something happened to make them dislike her? Could be jealousy. Jealousy? Maybe she exchanged rosaries with someone popular at the Thème de Confession. Ah, I see. I guess there's no way to confirm it now. That might have been what caused them to fight over the student council president's seat. In which case, it's perfect. What is? That's right, she hadn't actually explained to me what we were looking for yet. I have a little plan. Ritsuko and I'll come by again tonight. I'll explain it then. It's not going to kill you to explain it twice, you know. I'm not sure if this will work or not, but I was thinking I'd play Tomi-san for a while. play her? Why would you do that? Isn't it obvious? So I can take Mother to task for her. Look, Dad said that Tomi-san died without saying anything about their affair, which means someone else needs to do it. But I don't think she'll confuse you for Tomi-san. Really? Her mother made up the fiction in her mind that I was her daughter. Ah. Of course it would seem rather strange to anyone else, but the headmistress still hadn't opened her eyes. So if I act as her proxy, it'd have more impact than a simple mother-daughter relationship. Act as her proxy? Look, Dad said that when Mother was pregnant with me, he talked about how I was Tomi-san's reincarnation or something like that. And then there was what she said when she recovered from her anemia. Mother clearly sees me as Tomi-san somehow. That's why I did a little digging this afternoon. I was wondering if Tomi-san might have run for the student council president. What does that have to do with anything? Look, if she had, it would be a perfect fit for what's going on now. That'd make things really easy. Oh, I see. And I explained things to Ritsuko-chan. And as it turns out, she did run. She was elected student council president too. I was hoping I could run, but third-year students aren't allowed. So I'm going to support our society as much as I can and do all I can to remind her of Tomi-san back in those days. I understand the plan, but support how? Make speeches and stuff. There's no rule stating that only candidates can do it, right? Well, that is true, but you're really going to do it? You? What kind of reaction is that? Well, I just can't imagine it. Oh, I see. The truth is, I kind of felt the same way. Ayaka-san could be a real fraidy cat sometimes. Where she was hesitant to participate in the attempt to confront was one example of that. Fair enough. To be honest, I know it's out of character for me to get up in front of everyone, but if I'm going to do something to help Mother, this might be my last chance. Which means I want to do everything I can. Right. What do you think about it, Misaki-kun? Well, I think the plan itself is fine, but are you okay with that, Ayaka-san? Huh? What do you mean? Whether you pretend to be Tomi-san's daughter, or pretend to be her, that's not really what you want, so it sounds like you're just putting on another mask. And that's... it was hard to express, and the point was, I didn't like it. After having Ayaka-san so close to being honest, she was going to regress. But she spoke up immediately. This is different from that. Okay. I couldn't bring myself to fight her anymore. I'm sorry, it's quite different. Before, the mask she was putting on was to help her. Now she's putting on a mask to help someone else. I'm still saying she should get professional help, but I'm going to try and stop going on about that. Then I'll help too. Thanks. There's not really much you can help with. Just watch over me, okay? Roger. At noon, we skipped lunch and headed right for the headmistress's office. How can I help you? She'd been so meek back when she fell, but her gaze was cold again. Mother, I know you think you've done something immoral, don't you? Oh, that again. Please, enough. No, I won't stop. If you don't face it now, when will you face it, Mother? Or have you received your punishment from God? Don't you dare bring his name into this. It's written in John chapter 9, the judgment is only for John to for only... That would have been a bit arrogant of John, wouldn't it? It's written in John chapter 9, the judgment is only for God to give. I don't need to hear your Bible quotes. I doubt you have then. So you must still be suffering. That's why I'm going to punish you by proxy, Mother. Such blasphemy! You presume to... Of course I don't mean in the place of God. I mean in place of my mother. What? I'm Tomi-san's daughter, remember? A daughter settling her mother's unfinished business? Nothing strange about that, is there? And the headmistress's mouth flapped helplessly as she attempted to speak. Mother... No, I suppose I should call you this, Misako-san. You have done something wrong. What an insolent thing to say! Well, I think that's enough for today. Ayaka-san stepped away lightly, leaving the headmistress with the wind taken out of her. You know how I've behaved up until now. I've been too ashamed to express my opinions to others. Up until now? I've been wearing the mask of the clown. I swore to myself that I would never do that sort of thing again. Then you might not believe me. So I'm going to use all of my power to ensure that Rise is instigated as Student Council President. Your power, sister? You. Don't interrupt. Yes. As far as I can tell, Tomi-san was elected Student Council President, despite not being a society leader. You're surprisingly well informed. I've been investigating. I wanted to show what I can do, like she did back then. That way you can't possibly ignore me, isn't that right? Do as you wish. I've already forgotten what happened back then. You liar. You're obsessed with the past. And I'm going to cut you free of those thick, rusty chains that bind you, Misako-san. Stop that! The headmistress clapped her hands over her ears. I was dumbstruck by her uncommon behaviour. When you call me by name, it makes me feel strange. Salutations, then. We'll see each other again on the day of the grand vote. Okay, then. We're getting to the real deal now. As we left the room, Ayaka-san pumped her arm slightly. Mitsuko, please don't hate me if you lose. Right. I know what I said before, but if the White Lily Society turns things around, I know that it's probably because of your power. The White Lily's support still showed no signs of increasing, and the grand vote was on the 18th of next month. The campaign was in its second half already. Well, I think it'll really shock people. They'll be all, what? The other Kit Mikado is doing speeches? Do your best. I'll be rooting for you. Not as your rival in the Red Rose, but as your little sister. Thank you. You know what? I think that's probably a reasonable point to end this part. So, I will say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next.